Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, kicking off the official Magic the Gathering Origin spoilers from Wizards of the Coast themselves. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's hop right in with Zendikar Incarnate, 2 a red and a green for a star 4 elemental. Power is equal to the number of lands you control. This is very much Zendikar. Flavor-wise, it's a win. The card itself is going to make people who like limited very happy or upset because it's pretty much 4 for a 4/4 that scales up, trades up later game. Pure value in limited environment. Construct environment, though, without something like Trample or even Haste, the card itself with only 4 toughness going for it, it's just not there. It's interesting to note because it's 4 toughness. Why 4 toughness for Zendikar? Don't really know, but if you recall, Nissa, the Planeswalker, makes 4/4s. So maybe there's something about Zendikar and 4/4s? I don't know. Zendikar Incarnate. Fiery Impulse is a pseudo lightning bolt. 1 red for an instant, deals 2 damage to a creature. Spell Mastery does 3 damage instead. Realize that it doesn't hit a player, and that makes it far worse than Lightning Bolt. But of course, Wizards is being careful. They don't want to print something that is Lightning Bolt. That being said, for removal, 1 mana, very strong, especially at instant speed. Limited, it's going to be a sure grab. And constructed, it might get there depending how quick aggro decks are, but more likely than not, it'll Lightning Bolt in things like in areas like Modern. Lightning Bolt would be a preferred card to this. Maybe this would be an alternative Lightning Bolt depending on the deck. But for the most part, I see it being really solid limited removal, okay, and constructed. Patron of the Valiant. It's a little bit big here, but it's 5 for a 4/4 flyer. When edge the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Realize it's an uncommon, so for limited, 5 for a 4/4 flying with no downside is already good. Have an ability that's an upswing, really good. It's a very solid uncommon for limited environment. There's not a lot of 1/1 counter things going on. Even if there were, I don't know if it'd be good enough. It's not a constructed playable card, but for commander and for limited, seems very good. Almamaret High Arbiter. That's actually a pretty cool name. 5 and 2 blue for a 5/5 Sphinx. Legendary flying as it enters the battlefield. Each opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose the name of an online card, and your opponent can't cast spells with that name. This is an interesting conundrum. I really like the telepathic nature of it, that when it comes into play, you get to see what your opponent is quote-unquote thinking and deal with it. It also is really nice to handle any removal that they might have late game. So if you know they have a couple removal spells they used early on, you play this guy, see your opponent's hand, prevent a removal spell from killing it. Really, really nice effect for a big beater. Of course, it's very solid in limited, no question about it, but it is very expensive for any sort of constructed environment. If it was something like 5 for a 5/5 or even 6 for a 5/5 flying with an ability, it might be worth talking about. It's 7 mana, it's a bit much. I don't think it's there for constructed. And it's really weird, the face they have. It's a real face. A lot of Sphinxes are like a mask. This looks like a real face. Very bizarre. Haven't seen that in Magic often. The official Mothership spoilers from the page itself, we have Languish, which is our Damnation card, pretty much. It's 2 and 2 black for all creatures get 4/4 until end of turn. Sorcery speed. That's pretty much your Damnation variant right there in Standard. Yep. Of course, it's not actually Damnation. It's not as good as Damnation, but does pretty much what Damnation wants to do most of the time, and especially in an environment that has plenty of aggro decks going on, plenty of token strategies. Languish is a fine variant to have in the format without it being completely broken, although we're all waiting for Damnation. Where is it, Wizards? Enshrouding Mist, 1 for a white instant. Target creature gets 1/1. Prevent all damage dealt to it if it's renowned, which I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's a new mechanic. Then untap it. Okay, seems fine. Decent combat trick. Nice Shroud Fog effect. Knight of Pilgrim's Road, 3 for a 3/2 Renown. Here we go. Renown 1. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put a 1/1 counter on it and it becomes renowned. Okay, so that's like a pseudo monstrosity effect. Bestow. I don't even know what this effect is kind of mimicking. It does combat damage and then it gets a little boost, or potentially big boost if it does damage. I mean, 3 for a 3/2 limited seems fine. Renown doesn't flow off the tongue. I'm kind of surprised they used that term. It just very renown. But yeah, it's a decent card. Send to Sleep, 2 for an instant, tap up to 2 target creatures. Spell Mastery, they don't untap. This seems very powerful in limited, especially if they're going to be leveraging Spell Mastery. Seems very strong as a way to tap down prevent. Instant speed for 2 mana, very good. Then we have Rock's Maulers, 5 for a 4/4 trample with Renown 2. Seems pretty good, very good actually for a common. Being able to trample through and get the Renown, then it becomes a 6/6. Seems pretty good to me. And then here are some others that we already knew, but this is the official artwork. Nissa, Vastwood Seer, and Nissa, Sage Animist. And then we have, of course, we already knew, but here's Liliana. I guess it's the official on the page. And that coming from the mothership. Then we have this thing called Kothoped, the Fed, something like that. Huge demon, scary monster. Interesting to see. I want to see more about it in the lore. And what it does is 6 for a 6/6 flying. Whenever a permanent owned by another player is put into a graveyard, from the battlefield you draw a card and lose 1 life. The fact that it's not a main mechanic, it makes it very dangerous. Normally I'd say, hey, shoe in for commander decks, but since it doesn't say May, there are cards like Harvester of Souls that are just so much better in terms of their flexibility, in terms of the fact they don't deal you damage. It seems very easy for many decks in Commander with sack and recur effects, with token effects, to really mess over someone who has this card in play. Still, it's a big flying demon. It's going to be awesome and limited. There you go. Pretty much what we expect. I wish it was a mythic and was cooler, but don't get everything. Relic Hunter seems to be the buy box promo. Looks pretty interesting. And what does it do? It's 2 for a 2/2. It has not Fame. This is Renown, but this is, I guess, what they originally translated it as. Fame 1. If it has no Fame, no Renown on it, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it's famous, you may search. Whenever it's famous, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. So that, I'm guessing, it's not exact translation. I'm guessing it means that as long as, like, when it becomes famous, then you can search your deck for an equipment and put it in your hand. So it's a pseudo Stoneforge without being broken. At rare, I think that's completely fine and viable, completely normal, normal card. If they actually leverage equipments, it could be something. Otherwise, I'm seeing this card being potentially messed around with in Commander and so on and so forth. Looks pretty cool though. So those are our Mothership first day spoilers. What do you guys think? Some really interesting stuff. We got a couple new mechanics. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Just put that down below. Let me know if you're happy with this Damnation or not. And if you enjoyed the video, then tap the like button. If you're new to the channel, then check in and subscribe. As always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.